I think the animated film brought this brand new idea of the Disney princess to view, which was such a new concept for film at the time. It was also a massive feat to be accomplished of a feature-length film that people wanted to bring their kids to, and that excuse to actually bring your kids to a feature-length film was a really amazing thing that they were able to accomplish in 1937. But also just the values of Snow White, the kindness, her beauty, the way she treats wildlife and all of the people that she meets, and you know, having someone to root for and someone to root against. It's a timeless concept, and I think that's why it continues to mean so much to people. I'm such a huge Mark Webb fan. The Only Living Boy in New York, 500 Days of Summer, his amazing Spider-Man movies. I really have such a love and appreciation for him. And over the course of these couple years making this film, it was very clear that this was kind of a love letter to his children. He has a young daughter and a young son, and I could just tell that every frame was made with such a deep love for who his daughter will grow up to be and why he found this story so important to tell. I could just see every day how much care he brought to this character. And I remember in art chemistry read thinking he had brought such a lovable cynicism to this character that not a lot of people, I think, thought to bring in those chemistry reads. So I knew the moment I met him that he got it. And I'm really happy that he did. We have such a fun time working together, and I hope people fall in love with the love story because it's so important. Music is such an escape, but it's also such a wonderful way to explain yourself and express yourself in a way that not a lot of people are able to do. And so when we see movies like Wicked, when we see movies like, you know, with Once, with The Little Mermaid, with our own film, with Snow White, like you just hope that what you're singing is hitting home for somebody, and that one day when the emotions are just too great to speak, they can sing it, and they can feel seen and heard. These are iconic songs. Everybody knows them. Everybody knows them. Like Hi-Ho has been used in commercials. It has been used for so much marketing and so many different things. Whistle While You Work is an iconic song. And to then have to, you know, revamp it, but also build around it to make an entire catalog of new music for the modern ear is really, really difficult. And I can't think of two better people for the job. You know, they're obviously extremely talented individuals. Musicals like Dogfight, Dear Evan Hansen, but then also their work in film with Greatest Showman and La La Land. To then have them come to this set and bring you music that they've written for your voice is such an honor. The first time I heard Waiting on a Wish was when I was preparing for my screen test for the film. I was working on a movie in Atlanta, and my closet was soundproof in my building, and so I called my vocal coach, Joan Lader, and I said, I need to swear you to secrecy. Like, you can't say that you heard any of this, but this is Pasek and Paul's new song for the new Snow White, and I have my screen test in LA, and I really want to get it, so please help me. And we worked on it, and I just remember thinking, what an incredible thing that young girls will get to hear this. Young people in general, but she does talk about being the girl she's meant to be.
It really is a story about, I think, the power of friendship and community and the power of pure love and goodness and how that can overcome evil. And so that sort of the larger themes of the original film still absolutely ring true in this version. And I wanted to make sure that even with Jonathan's journey, that if he is starting from a more cynical place, that he is inspired by those pure forces of good, so that he sort of looks around and says, oh no, there is still something worth fighting for. And I think Snow White gives him that. Jonathan is first and foremost a cynic. He's been taught by the world around him that you have to think about yourself, you have to survive, and that's basically it. He doesn't really have time for thinking about how to save the world around him, whether through constantly being threatened by the queen and the queen's guard, not having enough to eat, not having a home, not having clothes around him. He has to just worry about himself and his merry band of bandits. The songwriting team, they're geniuses. And when I first heard the songs that I was going to be able to sing, I was intimidated, to say the least. But they're what's great about them is that they actually progress the storyline and character. So they're not just, we don't just stop to sing a song. The reason these characters burst into song is because they're so filled with this complex feeling that they have to sing. She possesses this incredible childlike wonder and innocence, which I think is sort of integral to the character of Snow White, but also this self-assuredness, this confidence that she does possess the things that she needs in order to save the world.
It was amazing. I remember when Mark Platt, our producer, called me to tell me that I got the part, and he called me and I said hello, and he said, "Oh, hello there, Evil Queen." And I was like, "Yay!" I was so happy to get it. For me, it was the first time to play a villain. So I was excited to do something new, something different, something I've never done before. And also, she's kind of the first villain Disney ever had. So it's really getting myself into this big crown of such an iconic character that I grew up watching in the old animated movie. And I never ever thought I'll be so lucky to have the opportunity to portray her. She's delicious. She's like she's wicked. She has this electricity in her uh, demeanor that is just so fun to play, you know, and to be able to portray such character in a musical as well means that you can really, like, to me it wasn't just the text and the words and the way I carried myself, but it was to let every bone you know, in my body to become that character. And it was a lot of fun because she's so theatrical and so full of, you know, she's grand. You get to work with Mandy Moore on the choreography and her team, who's amazing. Of course, Pasek and Paul. It's been such a ride working with them. They're the best of the best, and it's not just like professionally enjoying working with them. They're such wonderful people that spending every minute with them was such a joy. Uh, and also to get to do something new, something different than I've never done before. It was a revelation for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. You know, we treated this film with such honor to the original film, and you know, you need to respect the classic, and essentially this was the movie that really started Disney. And to be able to transform everything that you had in the animated film to real life, and you do it with someone like Sandy Powell, it was like magic to see the way she works, the people she works with, how she operates her teams, and the way her mind works creatively. It was it was a real honor to be able to work with her. When I have like this beautiful, long, purple, pink, black cape that I've been wearing, and we had to have 4 people helping me carry and walk around with it because it was like 30 feet long, and it, when I went down the stairs, it covered the stairs like perfectly. I think that in a way the costumes serve almost like another, it's almost like another character in the film. It really helps you, helped us pull the audience in, helped us getting into character, and it was an incredible experience to witness. I love to transform. I love to. Here, I really had the opportunity to come out of my skin, if I may say. The whole process was, to get all the prosthetics and everything on, it was about 4.5 hours. So you start, you start one thing, and then 4.5 hours later, you turn into this whole different thing. And I must say that in the film, in the original film, and also in this film, my favorite parts to play in was when I was the old hag. To have, it's like a clean canvas, if you may. It's not me, and it's totally, the character. You really let the character come out.
Well, the costume was designed, I mean, obviously knowing that she was going to be standing in front of the mirror a lot and holding her arms out. So all of her costumes have hanging sleeve, which is very medieval. I mean, traditional medieval costume, a courtly medieval costume would have big, long hanging sleeves. So that's why, the silhouette was pretty important, knowing that that's what she would do. And it would just create beautiful sort of image that could be seen from a distance. And we know exactly who she is. I mean, it's a very simple, striking image that says Evil Queen. It's always fun to have a villain because they really are the most exciting characters to dress, and the good characters are actually harder in a way. Of course, it's exciting and fun to design a good character, but in a way they're harder because you can exaggerate more. You can exaggerate villainy and badness, and you can't exactly exaggerate goodness in a way. When she's sent off into the forest by the Queen, she's provided another costume, which is the iconic blue and yellow, which actually starts out as a blue dress with a yellow underskirt. And then she loses the top layer in the forest, which gets ripped. It gets ripped away by a branch to reveal. The big reveal then is the yellow dress with the blue top that everybody knows. The cowl and the framing of the face, I think, is really essential for this character because there is something scary and intimidating about it, but it also focuses all your attention on her face and on her eyes, and then the shape of the crown. It just works with the whole silhouette. I mean, I can't imagine putting the crown on her with hair. It just wouldn't work. And again, it's the look that everybody associates with Snow White, the Queen, and it would have been different with hair.
I was sent the music for this film as well when I read the script, and immediately, it sounds weird, but I saw things when I listened to the music. That's usually what happens as a choreographer. I felt things from the music. The lyrics spoke to me. And then when I read the script, I just thought, what a lovely story. And of course, it's Snow White. I mean, it's classic. It's Disney. And I've actually never done a Disney project. So I was really hoping that this was going to happen. And so being here is a real dream come true for me. Each number is its own island, and I have to think about the vocabulary, the language, the vernacular, the vibe that has to happen for all of them. Even though they all live in the same story, they are different characters moving in different ways. So, for something like the village scene, I knew I wanted to do some research into, I guess, what I'd call community dance. I knew that I wanted the dance to be of the land. So I wanted it to be something that felt like it could be passed down from generation to generation. So the steps had to be relatively simple. They had to be able to be on live on all different kinds of bodies, all ages, all shapes. I really wanted it to feel like anyone could do it. When Rachel first came to me, we did have a lot of discussions about Snow White, how she holds her hands, how she moves through space, what pace, and how. And when you first meet her, she's kind of meek. She's got a little inside, but she's been living in that castle with that mean lady for a long time. So there were things that we would talk about with like how she held her hands or when she held her skirt. Again, simple moments that probably not a lot of people will notice, but they were talked about and decided. And even something in Waiting on a Wish, like I remember when she runs out on the battlements and she sings that beautiful long note. When she first did it on set, she was just had her arms down by her side, and I went up to her and I was like, I just feel like she'd have a little something in her chest right there, a little. She was like, oh, totally. So it's nice to work with an actress who also is like, oh yeah, like my physicalization is a thing, not just, what I'm saying or what I'm feeling, but also how I'm holding my body. Whistle While You Work was one of those like, I better do a good job on this one, because if I don't, everyone's going to really hate it. So no pressure. Obviously the song, incredible, classic. A relatively simple story. All we're trying to do is she's trying to teach them how to clean and enjoy cleaning. So, and getting them from a dysfunctional place to a slightly functional place.
So Jonathan is played by a young actor named Andrew Burnap, who is won a Tony for The Inheritance. He's a really fantastic actor and performer, and he can sing, he can dance, he's got great comedic chops, and he was just a blast to build this character out with. Sandy was able to get inside the heads of the characters and express their inner life in a way that felt completely legible, but also artistic. There was a level of interpretation and inspiration in her work that is absolutely majestic.
The original Snow White is still revolutionary. It's a piece of art. It is fantastic. And I think at the time, it's very hard for us in this moment to go back and think of how monumental that achievement was, how many years it took to make it, but also just the Walt Disney's appetite for invention and his creativity was something magnificent. I wanted to touch on Snow White's, obviously her optimism, her grace, her beauty, her warmth, her kindness, but I also wanted to find and develop her agency, her sense of self, what she was after. And I felt like it was important for this character, Snow White, not only to be all those things, but to be a little bit of a leader. And in a sense, the story has a simple plot, which is she goes out looking for her father and she finds herself. They're such students of the genre that they can kind of dance between so many different kinds of music. And they really, I think, invented a subgenre, as they call it, contemporary kingdom, that's specific to this film, that is deeply reverential and respectful of where the movie comes from, of Whistle While You Work, of Hi-Ho. But they could also bring in like a little bit of a modern flair to it. And that comes in with Good Things Grow, Princess Problems, Waiting on a Wish specifically, which has a little bit more of a pop feel to it to a degree, but it is also feels very in line with the rest of the music in the movie. There's a kind of poise and kindness and sweetness that I think lives in Rachel, but of course, what is sort of profound is her ability to sing, her voice. She is technically extraordinary, but also can find emotional currency in her voice in a way that I've never really seen before personally, that I've never been able to, I've never worked with an actor that has that kind of magnificent vocal quality that is so crucial in a musical, and she can, not only can she belt and sing in such a big, profound way, she can act through her vocals. you can tell people are having fun when they're watching the movie, and it's also it's something that people haven't really seen before, and they've seen it before in a sense that's familiar. They've seen Whistleblower work, but our this version of it, I think, and all the technology that was deployed is really at the service of creating a feeling of warmth and happiness and joy. And I don't think you can ask for something more rewarding than that. You can't look away. That's just something built into the wonderful Gal. But then Gal was also able to have fun, and she could eat the scenery, and she could be delicious, and there was something kind of that you haven't seen Gal do before. I think Gal is known for her austerity, and the Wonder Woman is like, she is so good and thoughtful, and the idea that she could play and be dangerous and maybe eat you alive is a really exciting thing to see her do. And I love that she is, there's something absolutely royal about the way Gal's character, the way Gal plays that character. And there's just not a lot of people that can wear those Sandy Powell outfits the way Gal can wear those Sandy Powell outfits.
Snow White is a beloved character. She's an aspirational princess that young people, particularly young girls, have looked up to and admired for decades and decades. So to have the opportunity to take that character and all the beloved characters from the film and to take what is classic and timeless in the story and the characters and bring it to life in live action for a whole new generation is a very exciting, gratifying experience. We had many conversations in the process of developing Snow White as to what elements from the original had to be in the film. Of course, you start with the character Snow White, a version of the prince, and the beloved characters of Dopey, Grumpy, Doc, Happy, Bashful, and Sleepy, and Sneezy. And so those characters are present, their personalities are all present, the elements, the attributes that we love about all of them are present. Similarly, there are images from the film. The red apple, the poison apple, the old hag, the mirror on the wall. Very specific images of Snow White picking apples in the orchard, and from behind her the huntsman approaches and we see her silhouette on the rock. Throughout the film there are many such Easter eggs where you'll see an image that's lifted from the animated film as an homage in a most respectful way, in a way that if you're familiar with the original, your eyes will widen with delight. Mark is someone I've tried to work with a long time, since I saw his first film, 500 Days of Summer, which had a fantastic musical number in it, which led us to a conversation many, many years ago about collaborating on a musical film. Mark has young kids, a young daughter, and similar to me, the character Snow White spoke to him, because I think he also found that character aspirational for young people. And in an adaptation, we had the ability to go beyond the animated film, which is only 83 minutes long. So we had the opportunity to take the character and all that's wonderful about her and elevate her. And that was very interesting to him. Snow White is a musical. There are many songs we wanted to keep. The classic Whistle While You Work, the brilliant Hi-Ho, beloved songs that generations and generations have embraced. And so I went for the best, which is, in my opinion, Justin Paul and Benj Pasek, wonderful songwriters who not just write magnificent and tuneful melodies and clever and poetic lyrics, but have a real sense of narrative and how to tell story through music. In musical storytelling, you want the music to inform story, inform character, but take you as an audience member somewhere else, which is, the great power of great cinema anyway. transports us. It takes audience to a different world. So in Snow White, I wanted audiences to feel through the music. They lived in that village where at the beginning all is good, where good things grow, which is the name of the first song, and where the values and what is important to the people are the community, the sharing of the bounty, goodness and truthfulness and faith. And then I wanted to feel the world when an evil queen came in and took over the world with her jealousy and her vanity. What is the musical feel of that world? So there's a contrast. Still all fun, but a contrast. And journey with these characters. Music is magic as well, and Snow White lives in a magical world, and the music helps bring magic to it. In a musical, when an actor or actress is singing, the best of them are acting. Forget that there's music. The lyrics are their dialogue, their emotion, their character. And the moment Rachel started singing her audition, I felt like I was watching Snow White, and her way into a song and the depth of which she feels when she sings, and of course, her vocal abilities and vocal range were undeniable, and it made her really the perfect Snow White. It also gave us the ability to film the musical numbers and have her sing live, which is really hard to do, but important because it captures, again, the authenticity of the emotion and the power of the scene and the story because it's live. I think to play a great villain, to have all those other qualities is what also makes the villain fun and delicious. And Gal was just so excited to go to those places and deliver sort of the bigness and the largesse of the character and have fun with it. Because in the best of the classic Disney villains, it's not just that they're evil, there's something fun and very delicious about them. And Gal uniquely and singularly delivers all that in her portrayal of the evil queen.
Cave and I worked together for over a decade, and our work it does have a bold feel to it, and it is very stylish, so I think we both knew that it would be a really exciting project because it would have hopefully a different look to anything that Disney have seen before. Snow White's obviously very petite, and I think for me, I wanted to get across this sense of, her power, her dominance, and her imposing nature. So that's why I went for a kind of elongated style with her, say her throne was 14 foot tall. It's very tall and very narrow. It was all hand sculpted here. It's carved with thorns and branches. So I wanted it to feel like it could almost get up and walk if it was its own character, a bit like the mirror. It has kind of vultures and ravens and evil lizards and other insects and things carved into it. Yeah, symbols and kind of iconography-wise, I wanted to use animals in there that we hadn't seen in the Evil Queen's world. So there's no snakes or serpents or lizards or anything. They're all very friendly woodland creatures. The Cave also used in the carvings. They each have their own distinctive animal. So Grumpy is the hedgehog and Doc is the wise owl. So that was something that came across in all of their furniture. And then palette-wise, it was choosing colours that we obviously hadn't seen in the evil world. It was the very warm, welcoming colours, no cold blues. It was all the lovely earthy tones, the greens and rusts, and it just has an incredibly welcoming feel, I think, the cottage.
Unbelievably, the front of her hair sits in this kind of perfect wave, which we obviously kind of encourage it every day, but it sits in the wave that if you look at a real kind of animated version of Snow White, that's exactly what you're trying to achieve. Those little details nod to the original. Those are the things that, without the viewer knowing, pull you into believing she's Snow White. You know, it's not just about having your hair cut up into a bob. It's something recognizable back to the animation. The biggest thing for me about trying to put my stamp on this version of Snow White was that when I watched the original back, there's a lot of makeup in it, in terms of, like, particularly the Evil Queen. But it's quite period looking. It looks quite kind of 1930s. So I knew that we could take things. I always try and look at things, see if I can take an original piece from it, which shapes our silhouette, and then try and change it from there, and try and kind of just slightly tweak that, slightly modernize it, or, you know, put our stamp on it. I really loved how much makeup was on the animation, which I'd never noticed at all. She's got really arched, almost 1930s eyebrows, huge makeup and huge eyelashes, which I just had never, ever noticed. It was a real shock. I thought, look how much makeup is on her face in the animation. So I just wanted to echo that and use the same colour palette. So we moved that green that we had and purples, and Gal was, right from the get-go, was very up for whatever we wanted to do, but this is a departure from what she's used to, and you have to be quite brave to let us do it.